Hello, Marcus. It's a great opportunity today to discuss such up-to-date topic as automation during COVID times. As a technical professional of Sorfin with enormous expertise, how do you think what's the importance of automation during COVID times?
Automation is always welcome, especially in our environment that we have high speed and dedicated lines. So we need very high speed and production. So automation should be the best alternative for productivity, for process stability. So, and the other important topic is that we don't want to rely on operators' skills. So many companies still have to rely on some specific operator to do some operation in COS lines, for instance. So the robotics takes all of this disadvantage out. And more important, automation for lead-acid batteries environment. So is ergonomic issues. We have a lot of people with health issues being not able to work because you can make a brief calculation. In an 8-hour shift, one operator can carry from 5 to 10 tons of lead carrying on by hand. So we can avoid all of this with automation. Another topic very important to consider is that during the pandemic times, we learned that the less people we have together, the lower is the risk to have some problems. We have seen companies shutting down for weeks or even for months because of someone got infected. So the automation helps us to reduce that risk. So the lower is the people you have working together, close to each other, the lower is the chance for your company to shut down when we most need production.
Along with all of those advantages, what's the average cost of robot currently compared to the past?
Well, this is changing drastically. The average investment for automated system just to move parts from the conveyor to the pallet, for instance, one simple robot with some gripper system, the average cost is around 5 times lower than it used to be 5 or 10 years ago. We normally correlate price of the investment with labor costs. So in the countries where labor cost is lower, so the payback is longer. So this is still there, but I believe that more and more companies are considering the other variables, not only the initial investment like ergonomic that we mentioned and high productivity and less variation on the process. Those all should be brought to the calculation for the payback. So the payback for automation is getting more and more interesting in nowadays.
But what are the concerns that automation brings to the users, if any, of course?
Well, the main obstacle is initial investment. So a lot of people still have in mind that automation is a very high cost initial investment. As we said, so it's changing now. It's not that expensive anymore. And I would say that even the programs are very friendly now. So it's not that complicated that you have to bring some specialists from the other side of the globe to make your program, to make changes in your program. We have more and more standard programs that people can use. So you can train one people inside your company to be your program designer or maintenance program. And also maintenance and care of the robot system. A robot system is something very sensitive. So if you have a good maintenance, you do good cleaning, and it's a predictive maintenance. So if you stop your system once a year or twice a year for a good cleaning and a good review, you will never have a problem. So the robots are ever there, so they don't miss, they don't come later, so they are always doing whatever you program them to do in very high speed and repetitive. So that's a big advantage.
Why automation companies are swamped with orders currently?
Well, this is pandemic time, so I have been visiting some partners and they cannot accept orders for next year, July next year, or even more than that. And there's a good reason for that. So automation being not the first priority of the companies, so it's always in the waiting list, the projects for automation. So Normally, companies prefer to invest. The first priority is to invest in a new product launch, in a new line, in some different technology. So they are always looking for more products, more sales. But during COVID times, that's a different situation. The scenario changed. So the companies are trying to survive. So they need to run production, and sometimes they don't have the people available for that. So that's what changed things. So those projects for automation that were in the waiting list, that were in the drawer, all of them came out, and that's the boom. So the automation companies, they don't have equipment available, they don't have time available, just because they have projects from everywhere, not only in our environment, in lead acid batteries. So that's the same thing for the food, for the industry, for drugs and everything. Everybody's trying to put a robot to replace persons just to get rid of the risk.
And the last but not the least, how do you see the future for automated process and automation business when pandemic stops?
Well, when you get some improvement in your lines, you get used to that. So you don't want to change that anymore. So the benefits will come and you will see that. So after the pandemic that we hope that's going to end soon, in more than 6 months or so. So probably the companies are going to have it paid back for. So it's paid back and you see the benefits and advantages. So that's going to be, in my opinion, what's going to differentiate the companies. So the big players are already with a very high level of automation. So now it's time for the intermediate players, those battery manufacturers that are between 1 million and 2 million batteries a year capacity. Those are the ones that are doing a lot of investments right now. So these intermediate players are going to play in the same level of the big guys because their process and their automation is going to be in the same level. So that brings manufacturing cost reduction. So that brings more competitivity for everybody.
I appreciate your expertise and your opinion shared today.
Very welcome. My pleasure, Maria.